Hi, my name is Lauren Lockett, and I'm going to be taking the side that President Trump and his administration did not address the coronavirus outbreak in an efficient manner whatsoever. To begin, President Trump and his administration had access to reports of COVID-19 long before any of us and other people really knew about it, and they did not really release this information or have any response to it. Yes, the virus did not seem like that big of a deal back then. However, if preparation had begun back then, we would most likely be better off now. National security officials consistently warned Trump, starting back in January, about the dangers posed by the virus. However, he continued to downplay the threat that the virus made. Fast forward some time, even when we were all aware of how dangerous this virus was, the Trump administration did not enforce any lockdowns or rules to ensure any sort of safety or plan to protect the people of the United States. Instead, it became the responsibility of the state governors to enforce and figure out a plan as a response to COVID-19. Aside from their actual response and plan of how the American people should act and respond to COVID-19, Trump and his administration did many other things that worked against the findings of coronavirus. First off, he lied about the dangers of the virus and even joked about how harmful it actually was, or is. He then went on to belittle people who were trying to respond in a manner that was following guidelines that had been put out by the CDC and things that they thought were a correct response to this virus. He also consistently was dismissing scientists, advisory boards, and huge findings that these people were making, and continuously disagreed with experts and guidelines that had been advised. Another thing that he's done is he's lied time and time again about this pandemic. In a couple examples are that in January and February, he claimed that our country had it very under control and that we were very ready for anything that this virus could bring us. Fast forward, in May, he claimed that cases were much better and going down, when at this time cases were in fact definitely still rising, and in some places they were just starting to plateau. In June, he claimed that cases were fading away and that this pandemic was completely under control, when it was not whatsoever. In July, he claimed that 99% of cases are totally harmless and that we had the lowest fatality rate in the world, when in fact we were not anywhere near that. We were actually the 9th worst country in the world with mortality rate. The lies go on and on. He also called the virus the new hoax from the Democrats rather than anything that was serious. He claimed that the response, the freak out of this pandemic was all because of the Democrats and it was a complete hoax. And he also compared COVID-19 to the common flu, and that we should treat it just as nonchalantly as we do to the common flu. He also repeatedly called COVID-19 the Chinese virus, and still does, and dismissed the facts that stated how dangerous this actually was for all of us in our country. Another reason that Trump and his administration did not respond in an efficient manner is with testing. For starters, there was no national testing strategy at all, and along with this, there was a completely insufficient amount of testing and insufficient capability of our country to give testing to people. They left it to the states to figure it out and figure out how they were going to get testing for all their people. Another thing that became a problem for each state rather than for the administration of Trump was PPE. States were left to compete for a sufficient amount of gloves, gowns, masks, cleaning supplies, sanitizers, you name it, and many more things. There was also no national mask mandate, which was advised many times. Trump even ridiculed people of any status for wearing a mask in public. Research has found that if we followed the protocols and policies that had been administered in other countries such as France, Germany, Japan, Canada, and even like Australia, that we would have had thousands and thousands of less deaths throughout our country. Another thing that he did was advise people to use dangerous chemicals as a treatment, which was actually very, very extremely harmful for people. And in my personal opinion, it seems to be that Trump and his administration is far too focused on putting the blame on others rather than figuring out a correct and appropriate way to respond to this virus and this pandemic.